Afternoon, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times. It's Tuesday. It's also September 11th. On this day, 17 years ago, mass attacks by terrorists left 3,000 people dead in a day that really did change America forever. It also set in motion a war in Afghanistan that still continues almost 17 years after it began, with the loss of 2,200 U.S. troops over there. Donald Trump has marked the day by tweeting about Hillary and also doing some fist pumping before appearing at a ceremony to remember the plane that was downed in Pennsylvania. Elsewhere today, we talked a little bit yesterday about a hearing at the Capitol on guns in schools and gun safety laws, and Moms Demand Action got at least some time to talk about their gun safety agenda. It was noted to me this morning that Senator Missy Irvin, who's a foe of gun safety laws, had a lot of questions for the Moms Demand people, and among the things she said was that it was interesting and, quote, bizarre that they would have brought up statistics about suicides with guns in America. Well, it's bizarre that you would say such a thing. There's been a rising rate of suicides by guns among young people, while other rates of gun deaths have dropped. The availability of guns and proper storage of it perhaps could reduce their use. There's also been use of guns in school attacks by people with suicidal tendencies seeking to end their lives in that fashion. So I think for the chairman of this legislative committee to find this bizarre, well, that's bizarre. Elsewhere today, Wendell Griffen, the circuit judge, has written a letter to the Judicial Discipline and Disability Commission asking that an out-of-state lawyer be appointed and a Benton lawyer who was given the case be removed to consider his ethics complaint against the Arkansas Supreme Court. He said there's been no meaningful action on his complaint, and yet there's been no decision in his case months after, while another outside counsel has quickly found cause for ethics charge against Judge Griffen. I think the judge has a point that somebody who perhaps owes future decisions of the Arkansas Supreme Court probably shouldn't be considering whether they acted ethically. There's a lot of indication there was some off-the-record ex parte communications between the court and many others about Griffen's involvement in a case involving death penalty drugs. Interesting writing today in Think Progress about a decision yesterday by the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals on a Missouri anti-abortion law. It's a law that requires hospital admitting privileges for a doctor who performs surgical abortions, and also sets some very harsh and difficult architectural requirements on abortion clinics. A virtually identical law has been outlawed, ruled invalid by the U.S. Supreme Court in Texas, but the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, which is the most conservative in the country, it's nearly all Republican judges, all anti-abortion judges, has said, no, this Missouri law can still take effect until there's still more evidence about whether there's a state interest in having these in place, despite a lack of any evidence that there's any woman's health benefit from these laws that are meant to prevent abortion. One interesting thing here is, number one, this court covers Arkansas, and this court has shown a resistance to the law and enforcing Arkansas anti-abortion statutes. Also, this particular opinion was written by Judge Bobby Shepard, an OBU graduate who lives in El Dorado and who's put out a steady stream of ideologically oriented decisions that are aimed at bringing down abortion in America, if not by reversing Roe v. Wade, by obstacles that make it de facto impossible to get in the United States. Well, in another federal court today, I've learned that Jeremy Hutchinson will be arraigned on federal charges against him for tax fraud and using his campaign money for personal expenses. He's a former state senator. His attorney filed a motion in court yesterday asking that he not be subjected to the usual pre-release requirements that are imposed on people charged with federal crimes. He said he's no flight risk and no danger to anyone, so he shouldn't perhaps have to follow the various rules such as no drinking of alcohol and that sort of thing. I do believe people charged with federal felonies aren't able to have firearms. Well, Kenneth Starr is back in the news, the Whitewater prosecutor. You knew he was despicable before. He's become even more despicable today. In an attempt to sell books, he's going to go on Fox News and similar sources and talk about how dishonest the Clintons are. Well, that's one thing, and you could expect him to say that. But last night in an interview on Tucker Carlson's show, he tried to bring up again conspiracy theories related to the suicide of Vince Foster. I don't know how much lower you can get for Ken Starr to talk about morality after presiding over a rape scandal at Baylor University. It's the height of hypocrisy, it seems to me. Finally, this piece of good news, the Arkansas Repertory Theater announced that they're going to announce their season for 2019 in a big party in November. They've raised enough money to guarantee another season. That's good news. They still need more money to pay off debt and have a reserve operating fund, but the Rep says it intends to live on. It's raised $620,000, which has been matched by private contributions from foundations, so they're off to a good start. Finally, this piece of sad news, it'll mean something only to old-time newspaper people, but I'm going to use my point of privilege here to mention the passage yesterday in Fayetteville of Jerol Garrison. He was 86. He was a veteran newspaper reporter, covered the federal beat. There's never been a more accurate, honest, and reliable reporter than Jerol Garrison. He went on to PR careers with UALR and also with Energy Arkansas. He was a good man, and that about says it all, I think. Keep resisting. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.
You listen to our music, you will feel it. You feel it in here.
The music is surviving, probably more than ever.
We owe it to New Orleans, we owe it to the world to keep it going.
It's a feeling that you have that was deep in you, powerful.
What is Mardi Gras Indian to New Orleans? Mardi Gras Indians is New Orleans.
We created rock and roll. We created swing, you know what I'm saying?